Before we take a break, let's take a closer look at the topics doing the rounds on social media. Now, Pretoria Girls High disappeared off the charts as quickly as it arrived. The UK's protests grabbed the nation's attention, while Occupy Luthuli House also reached the top of the charts. In international news, the 9/11 anniversary is one of the largest stories, and the launch of the iPhone 7 is bigger than the Paralympics, while Samsung's recall of their Note 5 is bigger than Africa's Cup of Nations and almost the size of the Hajj. Now, joining us in studio is Managing Director at Roy Africa, Tonya Khoury. A very good morning to you, Tonya.
Good morning, Renee. Lovely to be here.
Well, it seems we have quite an interesting shift of the trends. It seems like a lot of people want to rather talk about politics and other issues, as they come up.
I think we're suffering from a short attention span. We had Pretoria Girls High was the biggest story by a mile last week, a good 25% of ROI's charts. And this week it's gone. It's less than 1% on social media and about 1.3% in news media. So as quickly as it took over the charts, it completely disappeared within a very short space of time. And I'm wondering if it's because social media and news media has been consumed at such an alarming rate, and we shift our focus very dramatically. Another example is this week we had Occupy Luthuli House, which was a very big story, and then it became a smaller story towards the end of the week. We also had UKZN, which is, I think, the biggest story on the charts this week as far as social media is concerned.
And what are people actually saying about the UKZN? I know there's a lot of support for the students that are fighting for education. They're fighting for the fee decrease and accommodation, and they've got all these issues that they're fighting for. But in the same time, there's a lot of talk about the way they're protesting. What are people saying on social media?
I think firstly a couple of things. The social media has become the journalist again. So again, the social media users are reporting as if they were journalists with very factual content, which is good to see. And then secondly, there is support, but there's also a lot of damning, particularly when it comes to the universities, libraries, and the resources that were destroyed. So there's a lot of outcry about that as well. So very polarized social media as far as the UKZN protests were. It's the biggest story, but I think it'll disappear as fast as it appeared, because that's what we're seeing with social media at the moment. Fickle.
Well, in international news, I noticed that it seems people care more about the latest technology than a lot of the other issues.
Unbelievable, the iPhone 7's ability, or iPhone's ability, to market the product to such a level that iPhone 7's launch is 3 times the size of the Paralympic Games. I mean, that stat astonished me. Between the two, iPhone and Samsung, over a 7-day period, I think we got a good 10% of the international chart. So a good 3 or 4% under Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. That's how big technology gadgets have become in the media space. Huge.
And you see the Hajj, that was one of the bigger events over the weekend, as well as the 9/11. But do the other big events like the Hajj actually gain a lot of attraction on social media?
I think this particular event didn't get as much as it would normally do, and I'm not sure why that is. It was just over 1% of the international charts over a 7-day period. The images are truly beautiful, so that makes good social media content, maybe not so much news content, and perhaps that's why we're seeing that shift there. From a news side, it's slightly smaller. But yes, the normal run-of-the-mill US electioneering is still the biggest stories and has been for the longest time. And
Hillary was said to be a bit sick. Are people sending their message of support, of condolences?
Oh, I don't know about support and condolences, but a lot of speculation out there. There have been these coughing so-called fits that have happened over an extended period of time. So now they're saying, okay, maybe it was pneumonia. There was a lot of concern for her health, but that's come to the fore now that it may have been the pneumonia that was causing it all the time. But not sure about support, Renee. A lot of speculation, certainly.
And also, now we always look at these international charts and we always see a lack of an African focus.
Yes.
But over the past 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of instability around Africa, and then also we saw the Tanzanian earthquake, which is quite a big news story on the continent. And it hasn't made the charts.
It didn't make the charts as of yesterday, but I think the story hasn't had time to grow. I think the images are starting to come out now. You know, we started with a 2 or 3 death toll, and that's climbed dramatically overnight. Many buildings have been destroyed. So I think maybe tomorrow we may see an impact of the Tanzanian earthquake. Because it's unusual for our continent. We don't see earthquakes on our continent in general, you know. So it might make a bigger impact than what other earthquakes have done in the past. I mean, the Italy earthquake made no impact at all, which was astonishing.
Well, I thank you very much, Tonya, for joining us today and just giving us that wrap of all the social media trends.
You're so welcome.
That, of course, is Managing Director of Roy Africa, Tonya Khoury. Well, it's time now to take a break. We'll be back after this.